Okay, let's start with a question. Have you ever met someone who just seemed, well, too good to be true? They walk into a room and they just radiate charisma and confidence. It's like they say everything you've ever wanted to hear. The whole thing feels electric, almost perfect. But then you fast forward maybe 6 months, and suddenly you're just emotionally wiped out. Maybe you're a little lighter in the wallet too, and you're left completely baffled, wondering what on earth just happened. How did I miss that? Was it just a run of bad luck, or did you happen to cross paths with a very specific and very dangerous type of manipulator? In this explainer, we're going to give you a practical guide to spotting these people. We're going to dive deep into a psychological concept known as the Dark Triad. Trust me, once you learn the signs, you'll start to see the patterns everywhere. So here's our game plan. First, we're going to define what the Dark Triad even is. Then, we'll break down each profile, the Narcissist, the Machiavellian, and the Psychopath. And most importantly, we're going to wrap up with a real, practical plan to defend yourself. All right, let's get into it. Section 1. Meet the Dark Triad. You can think of this as learning to recognize the three primary faces of manipulation. So what are we really talking about here? The term Dark Triad was actually coined back in 2002 by a couple of researchers, Delroy Paulhus and Kevin Williams. It describes three distinct but interconnected personality traits. And here's a really crucial point. These are subclinical traits. We're not talking about full-blown clinical disorders that you'd get a formal diagnosis for. Instead, think of it as a collection of characteristics that, when they're turned up to high levels, make a person incredibly callous, manipulative, and just ruthlessly self-serving. And breaking it down like this is so key to understanding their different playbooks. I mean, sure, all three share a profound lack of empathy, but what drives them is totally different. The narcissist, they're all about ego validation. They need it like air. The Machiavellian is playing the long game for strategic gain. And the psychopath, honestly, they're just in it for the thrill and stimulation. On the surface, they might seem similar, but as you can see, they're all chasing very different prizes. So let's jump to our first profile and see how this actually plays out in the real world. Let's talk about the narcissist, the absolute undisputed star of their own show. To make this real, let's use a little case study. Picture Sarah, your brand new coworker. Day one, she is impossibly charming. She's telling you about her groundbreaking work at her last job, casually dropping the CEO's name like they're best friends, and somehow she makes you feel lucky just to be talking to her. This is the hook. But that initial charm, it starts to wear off, and a very clear pattern emerges. Here are the red flags to look for. A deep, powerful sense of grandiosity and entitlement. A desperate, bottomless need for admiration. They are constantly promoting themselves. And if you get praised for something, oh, they'll find a way to take the credit. But the second you criticize them, even gently, they either explode in anger or they immediately flip the script and play the victim. In relationships, this is where you see the classic love bombing, where they shower you with affection and then devalue you the moment you stop feeding their ego. Okay, on to our second profile. Now, unlike that flashy narcissist, this one is much more subtle. So let's talk about the Machiavellian, the true chess master, always operating from the shadows. For this one, let's think about a guy named Mike. He's that quiet person, maybe at work or in your friend group, who somehow always gets exactly what he wants. He doesn't make big, grand gestures. He operates with small, calculated moves. He might casually drop a harmless little rumor just to stir the pot in his favor, or he'll butter you up with compliments right before asking for a small favor that, what do you know, benefits him way more than you. What really defines them is their strategy. So here are the signs to watch for. A strategic, deeply cynical worldview, or morality is just, an inconvenience. They lie so smoothly, so convincingly. They'll build alliances and then discard them the second they're no longer useful. A huge red flag in the workplace, they're always reluctant to put things in writing. Why? Because ultimately they see people not as human beings, but as tools, as pawns on their chessboard. And that brings us to our third and, frankly, coldest member of the triad. We really need to approach this one with caution. Profile number 4, the psychopath. The thrill seeker who has no conscience. So let's imagine Alex. Alex is the life of every single party. They're bold, exciting, they take huge risks without even blinking. They'll charm their way right into your inner circle, convince you to lend them money for some sure thing investment, and then poof, they just vanish. They ghost you. And the most chilling part of it all, there's no apology. There's no guilt. There is zero remorse. This is what really sets psychopathy apart. You know that superficial charm that feels too good to be true? Well, it is. Their impulsivity leads to incredibly reckless behavior that often drags other people down with them. But the absolute core indicator, the thing to really watch for, is that chilling, profound lack of empathy and remorse. They just don't feel bad about the pain they cause. And you'll often see this play out in a long pattern of broken jobs and broken relationships, all of it stemming from this deep, emotional void inside them.
Okay, so we've identified the threats. We know what we're looking for. Now for the most critical part. How in the world do you protect yourself? In this final section, we are going to build your practical defense plan, and it all starts with one key concept: boundaries. Look, if you only take one single thing away from this whole explainer, please let it be this. The #1 rule is to trust patterns, not promises. Their words can be intoxicating, so convincing, exactly what you've been wanting to hear. But their actions, over time, that's what tells the real story. Their behavior is the only data you can trust. Now, one of the most effective tactical defenses you can use is something called the gray rock technique. And here's how it works. Step 1, you make yourself uninteresting. I mean, profoundly boring. Keep your interactions brief. Step 2, be non-reactive. Give them minimal, totally unemotional responses. They feed on drama, so don't give them any. Step 3, stick to the facts. Don't ever share your personal feelings or opinions with them. The goal is really simple. The manipulator gets bored, they lose interest, and they go find their stimulation somewhere else. You effectively become as uninteresting to them as a plain gray rock. Let's fill out the rest of your toolkit with a few more absolutely essential strategies. First, state your boundaries firmly, and do it early. A simple, "I'm not comfortable with that," is incredibly powerful. And this is so important. Do not gaslight yourself. If your gut is screaming that something is off, you need to listen to it. In a work situation, document your interactions. Keep a record. Get distance from them whenever you can. And finally, lean on your trusted friends or therapist for a reality check. They can often see the patterns that you're just too close to see. And let's wrap up our analysis with this powerful idea. The most dangerous people out there aren't always the obvious, cartoonish villains. Sometimes, they're the ones who make you feel like you're the main character in the most beautiful story, right up until the moment they write you out of the script completely. So, when it all comes down to it, your best defense is knowledge. We've walked through the profiles, the red flags, the whole defensive playbook. So I'm going to leave you with one final question to take with you. Now that you know the signs, what patterns are you going to start looking for?